Good evening. Didn't mean to shut off conversation, but I guess I just shut off conversation. Welcome to the July 9 meeting of the Plymouth Community School Board of Trustees. Thank you for coming. If you'll join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is to set the agenda. Any additions or corrections? No. I'll entertain a motion then to accept the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Agenda is set. 1.3, audience participation. Are there members of the audience that would like to comment on specific agenda items? I'll give you another chance if the spirit grabs you, but thank you for being here. Section 2 is the consent agenda. This evening we have, I think, a fairly typical list of consent agenda items. Are there any items on the consent agenda that board members would like to pull out and consider individually?
I just have a couple questions on.
Let's get it on the table if we're going to. I'm sorry, Gary. I'm just asking now if there's anything you want to pull out.
No, I just have a question.
Then we'll get it on the table and I'll ask a question. All right. So I'll entertain a motion then to consider or approve the consent agenda. So move.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Questions?
And Candy can probably answer these. There was just a couple of things on the vouchers. One is for American cigar cabinets.
Yes.
So
They did make cigar cabinets for
Okay.
us. It's, Dan can probably speak on that more than I can. I know that they make some cabinetry for us over in the new tech area, display.
It's
a display.
It's a flow-through account, Gary. It's,
Okay.
the Alumni Association has a flow-through account that we monitor for them. And so, the new Alumni Center, have you seen it yet?
It's outside the gymnasium.
It's right outside the gymnasium. That is made by a company that sells cigar cabinets.
Okay.
It's
Thus,
It just kind of jumped out at me when I was looking at slaves.
We have a humidor outside.
Yeah. We'll smoke one after our party.
so, the donor who paid for that sent the money in to pay the money, to pay that invoice. And the company billed the Alumni Association, they gave it to us, we paid the bill. So no tax dollars went into that Alumni Association center.
It just popped out at me.
I'm surprised it didn't pop out at me.
And then the only other one was the Amway Hotel Corporation, and that was a conference expense. Was that the name of the hotel, or?
Yes, that was at an Amway Conference Center.
Okay, I didn't know if we were selling
Grand Rapids.
Amway products on the side.
No.
If we've been to Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
Trying to get money in the pyramid style.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
It helps to pay for the cigars.
That's nice. They Amway sells cigars.
A lot of these comments are really not for the paper.
I would like to, at this point, make a couple of comments, introduce one person, and make a comment about another, and then I think there's some teachers who are here to introduce some new staff members. I'll do my best to do it, but first I would like to welcome Jim Phillips to Plymouth Schools. Jim's sitting right back here. Jim is actually was a 1984 graduate of Plymouth, and when we started this process of hiring a safety director, I I did some consulting with Jim because I knew he was in the business. And some family things that happen to all of us as we go on. I think made him do some thinking when this opened up as a job and submit his application. And I can just tell you, we are getting way more than our money's worth with Jim. We had 35 applicants for the job. We had some really good applicants, but no one with the credentials that Jim has. And I'll just give you a couple things. That he was in the military and worked as an MP. He worked for the Atlanta Police Department. Then he went into corporate security, and a couple of the places that he worked for was Menlo Worldwide, which eventually then was taken over by UPS, and then finally worked in global security with Kimberly-Clark. Traveled 36 weeks out of the year, and that was one of those things that brought him to the realization that maybe staying home and working at a lower paying job would be better for his family. But you know, we established some criteria of what we would like to have, and I just think he hit the mark on all three of them. And the fact that he is a Plymouth High School graduate makes that to me even better, because he's got that passion to make Plymouth a good place for kids. So we're glad to have Jim. Now, they haven't voted for you yet, Jim. So don't get too big of a smile on your face. But if you have any questions for Jim, this would be a time, or if you want.
I just want to say, Jim, I'm Gary Cook. We have spoken on the phone before. Nice to meet you in person. Nice to meet you, and we're fellow Packers fans. So, but I'm containing my enthusiasm until after the vote. Okay, yeah, go back. But I'm very happy that you will be joining us. Thank you.
Jim, you give me an opportunity if you want to take any comments or.
Keep it very brief. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been a great selection process, as Dan said. I've been Director of Global Security and Safety for UPS and Kimberly-Clark. Traveled 1 million miles the past 7 years, and it's good to be back in Plymouth. And you know, the big thing that I'm really big on is transparency, integrity, and cooperation. So the first 90 days is going to be networking with a lot of the local law enforcement and emergency services and bringing them in, because if we do have an incident, they're going to be the first responders, and I want to make sure that relationship is solid. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also,
Well, before we move on from Jim, I'd like to welcome you back to our community, Jim.
Thank you.
Great place to live. And don't take these comments the wrong way. It's unfortunate in my view of the world that we have to consider things like this for the public schools, but I think we've all unfortunately seen what can happen. And you know, the board is, under Dan's leadership, is taking very seriously what our responsibilities are for maintaining. You know, when parents drop off their kids at the door, you know, we have a huge responsibility and are entrusted with that. So glad you're here, and you know, it is something that we are taking seriously, and this is certainly a big step in that direction. And you know, we want to make sure all our parents and grandparents and students that come through Plymouth are here to learn, and you can't do that if you don't feel safe in their environment. So, and for our staff as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
and structuring the ability to pay Jim, we're using general fund for about 65 or 70% of the money, and then looking at cafeteria and some transportation dollars to pay the rest. So you know, we are, if the state comes up with any way to help pay the salary, we'll use that too. But we wanted to structure it in a way that the impact was positive for kids, but yet it wasn't a negative thing for the general fund. But like Todd said, we do take safety seriously, and one of the things that our auditor said when he finished was, he said, you've got a lot of people who do have a little bit of a role in the safety of school, but you have no one that's their number one role. And so his number one thing was to bring in somebody who that was their number one. Part of Jim's contract will also help, I think, in the other schools, because he will be in charge of the truancy program. And I've always found it a little bit dangerous when we send teachers out to knock on doors and ask where kids are and why they're not in school. Jim will either be going with principals, or Jim will be going out to the houses and doing that. And I think that'll be a benefit to have somebody to go and make those calls for the schools. So I would also like to, we are transferring Amy Gerard tonight from a certified position to an administrative position. It is not going to cost any additional dollars. She was already, structure of her payment with Title II money was already paying her that. But I really felt with the need for consistency by the same 4 schools that were doing PBL, that we needed somebody to make sure that there was consistency of what we were doing, so we didn't have 4 schools doing their own thing and having kids really mixed up as they moved from one school to the other. And Amy proved that she was very good at that last year, and then I think also with the evaluation system, I mean, I think we really worked at that hard last year, and we got through the first year of the new evaluation system pretty good, but I just think it's probably important that when somebody comes in to evaluate you, that they are an administrator and not a certified teacher. So those 2 things, and then do we have anybody that's introducing new staff tonight?
Susie, you go ahead. Okay. Sounds good. Gary McGuire cannot be here tonight, so we're going to introduce 2 of our new staff. Liz Schmucker is going to be filling our first grade position at Webster. Liz grew up in North Liberty, and she graduated from Grace Baptist here in Plymouth. And she received her bachelor's in general education with a concentration in early childhood psychology and sociology. She then completed the transition to teaching program at Bethel. After that, she taught 2nd grade in Phoenix in the 2011-2012 school year. And then she returned to Indiana, where she completed this spring a maternity leave at Menominee in 3rd grade. And over spring break, she got married to her husband, Nathan, and they have 3 children, Jacob, who is 8, Gabriel, who is 5, and Lydia, who is 4. All right. And for our non-interventionist position, we have Bethany Goodman. And Bethany grew up in a farm in Winnemac, Indiana. She was homeschooled throughout high school. She graduated this spring from Indiana Wesleyan with a dual degree in exceptional needs and elementary education. And she loves horses. She teaches riding, and she shows horses, and she's actively involved in her church, her community, and she loves to spend time with her family.
Any questions? I will afford you the same opportunity. Any comments that you'd like, or don't want to put you on the spot, but I'll go for you. Welcome to Plymouth. So looking forward to working with you. Any other?
Nope, you're just going to be on a great staff, so they'll expect a lot out of you. They'll find out.
That seems like a form of intimidation. Did you have a question?
I do, I got confused with, so Mrs. Gerard will be evaluating staff for all of the schools? Or just the PBL?
PBL,
Okay,
in the 4 schools that are doing it, Washington, Riverside, Lincoln, and the rest.
and the directors also do evaluations?
Mhm.
So this is kind of a, she won't be the only.
Oh, no.
Okay,
But rate of reliability is something we got, hit hard on as far as it's a new evaluation system. We need to make sure that our people are as close to the same as possible, and the ability to have 2 people go in and look at how they rated people and then talk about it doesn't mean they're changing what they wrote, what they put down, but it does mean that they get to, that ability to talk and hear reasons why or why not. So I think that makes all of our people better evaluators when you have that too.
thank you, I just got confused.
We have a motion and second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Welcome aboard.
Welcome back, Kim.
Thank you very much.
But you're all welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. You're all welcome to do what you need to do this evening as well, so.
Follow Susie.
We'll go to business transactions next. 3.1, permission to apply for grants.
Yeah, that's mine tonight. Each year, we ask the board for permission to apply for grants. What you see there in front of you is our list of the grants that we typically apply for, special ed grants, Title I, Title III, Title II, the adult ed grant, the high ability grant, and then we added the innovation grant, because we've applied for that 4 years in a row now. So, but this would also, with your permission, give us the ability to apply for other grants as they come up throughout the year, as long as they fit within our core values. And if not, we would come and speak with you about that before applying. Any questions?
I'll entertain a motion to provide permission to apply for any and all grants.
So moved. Free money is all.
Second.
Discussion?
Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
We're good. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consider selection of newspaper for legal advertisement.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Each year, we have to select a newspaper for our legal advertising. Since the majority of our community subscribes to the Pilot News, I would like to recommend that we use the Pilot News again.
I'll entertain a motion to
So move.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 3.3, consider approval of annual financial report for publication.
Each year, we are required by law to publish the annual financial report between August 1st and August 15th. And I recommend that you approve the financial report that you have and be published in the Pilot News.
For the recommendation, I'll entertain a motion to approve the annual report for publication.
So move. Second.
Motion second, questions?
Just make sure we hit the timelines.
Yep. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 3.4, consider permission for publication of notice of project hearing.
We would like to ask the board for permission to advertise a notice of a project hearing, and the project would be to improve safety and security at all the Plymouth buildings, and the renovations would come under the direction of the new Director of Safety and Security.
Talked about this before, but you've heard the recommendation, I'll entertain a motion to consider permission for publication of notice of project hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, discussion, questions?
Is this the cameras and all the, what we talked about before? Okay.
All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider board appointment to Safety Committee.
We would like to recommend the board appoint Gary Cook as a board representative to the School Safety Committee. With his experience in law enforcement, we believe he will make a good addition to this committee.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. This is a rare road if I've ever seen one. Discussion.
Do you have anything to say for yourself?
All in favor of the
No,
motion?
I just consider it an honor to be on the board.
Thank you.
With your expertise, be here.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Gary, you can't vote?
I did.
All right. Motion approved. 3.6, consider a Blueberry Festival agreement.
Yeah, each year, the Blueberry Festival Committee requests to work in partnership with the school corporation to park cars in the high school parking lot and use Jefferson School. This is, over the years, has been a win-win for both the school and the Blueberry Festival Committee. I would recommend that we approve this request for the Blueberry Festival to work with the school again.
Heard the recommendation, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Questions? I don't know, Jeff, if you've seen this, but is this, we've had this every year, is there any changes to it?
I don't recall seeing it before this year, but in reviewing it, it's in line with what I understand it's been.
And this is a pretty good fundraiser.
Fundraiser for
And I've not heard,
As long as it doesn't rain on
Yeah.
it.
all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 3.7, policies and guidelines, first reading, transfer of student policy.
Yeah, this was a change in the non-resident students. As we've been, the last couple of years, been accepting non-resident students, and we have to have our first reading this week, or this meeting, and our second reading at the next one, and we have to have this in place before school starts. So, we just got the information on it a few weeks ago. So, we've had some advice from the School Board Association attorney. They've sent us some templates that we took some of, but basically the difference is that in the past, schools have been able to turn down special education students, and that's not something we've ever done. We've taken the students that have applied. A lot of schools have gotten a reputation for what they call cherry picking and only taking the top kids. And even though we had it in our policy the last time that if it put a financial burden on us, that we could turn them down, we've not done that. So really, the changes in laws are not really going to affect how we accept transfers. One of the things the other thing is that this is going to do is, there was always a huge time delay, because we would get the request, we would sign it, we would send it to the school. Sometimes it would get under paperwork on the principal's desk and not get dealt with for 3 or 4 weeks, and then the parent would call us and say, where's this at? So now this will come to us, and one of us will make the call to the school. And there are some criteria for the student not being able to be accepted, and they're basically the same reasons we haven't accepted them in the past: if they've been suspended or expelled, if they've been violent. And those things are spelled out in this policy and in the guidelines. But this is, Jeff and I have worked quite a bit back and forth on this, and we got some guidance from, like I said, the School Board Association attorney, and so what you have in front of you would be the policy and the guideline that would take the place of the old ones.
This is first reading, we don't need to take action, but are there any initial questions? If you have any questions as you read through it or contemplate this, let Dan know before our next meeting, but it'll be on for our next agenda for consideration for approval.
Carol.
Is there an appeal process? If a student is turned down, I'm assuming you notify them in written form, I guess. Is there an appeal process?
I don't think I'm aware of.
I don't think it's called for in the statute, Jeff.
The new statute, as Dan said, it restricts very severely the reasons you can deny a transfer. Other than behavioral issues that are specifically outlined in the statute, the only reason to deny a transfer would be space limitations. And the way it's worded, that student could be reconsidered every month until space is found to allow the transfer. So I think under the new statute especially, there's really not any reason for an appeal.
Anything else? Okay. 3.8, establish capacity and deadlines for transfers.
So, the other part of this is that we have to establish a capacity for each grade level, and we have to establish a deadline for applying to come to Plymouth Community School Corporation. And so, this has to be put in our, published on our website, so people can see it. And the way we have worded this is that our largest class is 13 sections, so that would be 325 students, at 25 students per class. And at the high school, really, there's not really a limitation on how many we can take, because they have the ability to take somebody who's teaching 10th grade English and have them teach 9th grade English. So we didn't put a limit on it at the high school. So that's how I dealt with the capacity. The deadline I put was the end of the last day of school of the 2013-2014 school year, which allows for students then to ask for transfer into Plymouth Community Schools throughout the school year. And the schools that have benefited by having kids come to school are all doing this. The schools that, like Westfield, Washington, who are full and they can't take any more kids, they're establishing, an early deadline in July and really not looking to take transfers. So, and this we need to revisit each year as far as capacity.
And this is something we need to approve. So I'll entertain a motion to establish or accept the recommendation for the capacity and deadlines as presented.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. And just for clarification, this is also out of the new legislation.
Yeah, absolutely.
We haven't seen this in previous years. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So we'll get that on the website tomorrow.
Section 4, superintendent remarks.
Since the last day of school, our teachers and our administrators have been involved in a variety of different trainings. Looking at the schedule, it seems to me that there's not going to be a week before school starts that they're not going to be involved in some kind of training. So, the trainings have gone from technology training to dyslexia training to this week we're doing training for the national school reform models. We also did training, help me out, Michelle, what was the
Sled.
sled training where the teachers went to Purdue to learn about teaching science through the eyes of an engineer. Dan had a group with him out in South Dakota learning about
Individualized learning.
individualized learning, which I think when we did our focus group with the parents, that was one of the things you heard them talk a lot about. There were 20 people in Grand Rapids doing new schools for New Tech, and 20 people going to New Orleans next week for second year of new schools in New Tech. I don't think I've ever seen a summer where there's been this many teachers jumping on the professional development, and it just, I know they're not spending all their time, they are getting a lot of summer, but we've offered so many things, and Dan and Michelle are really the two to take credit for that. But we've offered so many things along with the book talks that we're doing that teachers are able to, they're learning more about how to be good teachers than we've ever had before. So I just had to talk about that, and seeing a real commitment to kids. Caring. Once again, and I almost have a hard time saying this, but we're getting ready to do our one-stop registration again for the 2013-2014 school year. Just seems like we got out. Information went out tonight. Some of you who are still parents may have gotten a school reach about it, and we've got the dates for registration there. I think our plan this year is to do one more one stop, and then next year we're probably going to try doing a completely online registration. I think we've gotten to the point where people are wanting that, so we're ready for that. High expectations. Recently, Jim Condon, 2 staff members and 2 students were in Indianapolis to be honored for having one of Indiana's highest percentage of students passing AP courses. The AP courses are what they take. If they take those courses and they take a test and they get a 3, 4, 5 on it, they automatically get credit for it in college. Plymouth was 13th in the state as far as the percentage. That put us #1 here in the area. I think that we just have to feel really good about what's happening at the high school. And a big thank you to all those AP teachers, because they have to go down and be trained on how to teach that curriculum, and it is a very, very tough test that those kids have to take. So it wasn't too many years ago, and we wouldn't even have come close to being in the top 50. So that's a big jump for Plymouth High School. On July 29th, the board and the central office administrators will meet in executive session to create goals in the final step of the strategic planning. Facilitator, we've got Ed Eiler to work with us on facilitating. Ed was superintendent for 12 years and associate superintendent for 20 years at Lafayette. So he's got a lot of background, and Todd said, get somebody who's going to challenge us, and I think Ed will challenge us. I had a brief conversation with him today, and I think he'll do a nice job. Integrity. When we talk about integrity, we talk about people who are going to walk the talk and talk the walk. And so I want to talk a little bit about Dave Shove. Right now, he's managing his normal summer maintenance, which is extensive. In addition to that, he's got a project at the service center. He's got a project at the high school. He's got a project at the junior high. He's got a project at Riverside. The small project at Jefferson with the asbestos turned into being a big project. So Dave continues to exemplify that doing whatever it takes. That is our mission. So great job, Dave. Keep up the good work. And if you see Dave, make sure you let him know how much we appreciate his work, because he busts his butt for us. Enjoyment. If you haven't checked the blog lately, the band once again received the All Music Award from ISMA. The award is presented only to school music departments in Indiana that have successfully participated in all facets of yearly competition and events hosted by ISMA. So great job to the directors of the band, the choir, and the orchestra, because once again, they make us proud. Upcoming meetings, July 29th, the strategic planning will start with some dinner at 5 o'clock, and then about 5:30 we'll start moving into some talk. I will be sending you some information ahead of time, sort of showing you the direction we'll be headed that night. While we're coming up with some goals that night, it's not going to be a final project. It'll be what I call a rough draft, and then hopefully by September, October, we'll be able to say, okay, this is, we're ready to announce this to the public and start working on these things. One of the things that Ed and I talked about today is when we word the goal in that rough draft form, we'll word it as, here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to measure it to see if we've been successful at it. So there'll be some metrics involved in that establishment goal to start with. And then on August the 6th is the next regular school board meeting at 7 o'clock. And that's all that I have.
Thanks, Dan. Any questions for Dan? Any questions from the audience? Yes.
I have one more, and I apologize that I don't know, but when we do the financial report, are the amount of the grants listed in that?
No, those are not.
I'm sorry, what was the
You
question?
mean to the paper, or what we publish in the paper?
No, that's not a requirement. If they have a format, the DOE, Department of Ed sends us the format,
And
that's what we have to follow.
Okay.
It's basically our enrollment, salaries, but not employee names,
Okay.
and vendors who we've paid over $2,500 for the year, and I'm talking calendar year. And this is all from 2012.
All right.
It's,
So the cigar cabinet's not going to show up.
no, sorry, it's time.
But all the grants that we receive, those are announced at the meeting, as well as how much we receive and what they're used for.
Yeah. And I try to report on those, but just every once in a while, someone will ask me how many grants we do, and I don't know if it's
A lot.
public knowledge or how to work.
We try to get as many as we can.
And some of
She
those.
can have a copy of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
It's on Board Docs Public. You can see what those grants are. You
Okay.
can-
Yeah, I thought that was your question. Yeah, the various grants are listed in the dollar amounts and what percent.
And the estimated one that's on there are some grants that they have not given us the dollar amount yet. But I figured 5% lower, because that's what all the other grants have been
Okay.
typically, that I've been receiving word on, just so you know. So when it says estimated, Carol, that's because I'm just estimating right now. We don't have absolute dollar amount.
I just think it's important that people know that you're not just using taxpayer dollars.
Correct.
When they're
Well, the
sources
grants
of
are
income.
taxpayer dollars.
Well,
It's just that
local.
we're getting them to somebody else.
Right.
Isn't-
Yeah.
They're not local property.
That's the
They're
key.
not
Right,
local
they're
property
not
taxes,
local.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
They're federal.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, I saw something online today that I think is great for Plymouth. I saw where all of our school buses passed inspection. I do know something about computers, I'll have to tell my kids that, but I found this
online, and all of them were approved with no violations. And I don't know how past inspections have gone, but I think that's great. That means we're putting, you know, the kids that we're responsible for in safe vehicles.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Gary. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Okay.